They say history is written by the victors. But what about the untold, the bizarre, and the downright unexpected stories that got lost in the pages? The Civil War wasn't just about legendary leaders like Lincoln or famous battlefields drenched in glory. Hidden beneath the history books are shocking alliances, strange battlefield strategies, and wild connections to the lawless American West. From the unbelievable to the almost absurd, these are 10 Civil War facts they definitely didn't teach you in school. Stay tuned, you won't believe number 7. And if you love uncovering the hidden side of history, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, there's so much more they didn't teach you. Number 10, disease killed more soldiers than bullets. The Civil War remains the deadliest conflict in American history. But here's what might shock you. Most soldiers didn't die in battle. Instead, disease was the greatest killer, spreading rapidly through overcrowded military camps. Common childhood illnesses like measles, mumps, and chickenpox tore through the ranks like wildfire. Malaria alone affected nearly 1 million Union soldiers. Poor sanitation and limited medical knowledge only made things worse. Over 600,000 men lost their lives, more than the combined fatalities of World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. If a memorial similar to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial were built for Civil War casualties, it would be over 10 times as long. But that's not all. These next findings might just bring you to tears. Number 9, Civil War generals had an extremely high mortality rate. Unlike modern warfare, where high-ranking officers direct battles from secure locations, Civil War generals often led from the front lines. This made them prime targets. Their death rate? 50% higher than enlisted soldiers. One striking example? The Battle of the Wilderness in 1864. Confederate General Robert E. Lee tried to lead a counterattack, but his own troops physically held him back, fearing that his death would shatter Confederate morale. At Antietam, 3 generals were killed, and 6 more were seriously wounded. And friendly fire? That was a danger too. General James Longstreet was accidentally shot by his own men, but miraculously, he survived. Number 8, William T. Sherman was almost declared insane. Before becoming one of the most brutal generals of the Civil War, William Tecumseh Sherman was nearly removed from duty in disgrace. At the start of the war, he was given command in Kentucky, but he became paranoid about a massive Confederate invasion. He requested 200,000 troops, a number so absurd that his superiors thought he was insane. Newspapers called him unfit for command. Some even suggested he be institutionalized. The pressure became too much. He had a mental breakdown and was forced to step down. But here's the thing. Sherman wasn't crazy. He saw what others refused to believe. And when he returned, he unleashed a campaign so brutal, it shattered the South's will to fight. His infamous March to the Sea left entire cities in ruins. His tactics were so effective that after the Civil War, he was put in charge of fighting Native American tribes in the West. Using the same scorched earth warfare, he crushed resistance and helped pave the way for America's expansion at a brutal cost. Number 7, Lincoln survived an assassination attempt before Ford's Theater. Everyone knows Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth in 1865. But what if I told you that wasn't the first attempt on his life? In August 1864, Lincoln was riding alone toward the Soldiers' Home, his summer residence outside Washington. Out of the darkness, a gunshot rang out. The bullet whizzed past his head, knocking his hat off. His horse bolted, but Lincoln managed to stay on and escape. The would-be assassin never found. Later, soldiers discovered Lincoln's hat with a bullet hole through it. When told about it, Lincoln just laughed it off, refusing to increase security. This near miss shows just how dangerous 19th century America really was. Assassinations, duels, and ambushes were everyday risks, even for the president. Number 6, Arlington Cemetery was created to punish Robert E. Lee. Arlington National Cemetery is one of the most sacred places in the United States, a resting place for over 400,000 veterans. But here's something few people realize. It wasn't just built to honor the fallen, it was built to send a message. Before the war, the land belonged to Mary Custis Lee, the wife of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Their grand estate, Arlington House, overlooked Washington, D.C. When Lee sided with the Confederacy, the Union took everything from him, and they made sure he could never come back. Union officers didn't just seize the land. They started burying soldiers right in Lee's front yard. It was no accident. This was deliberate revenge, a way of ensuring that the home he once loved would be forever changed. Even after the war, the government refused to return the land. The Lee family fought back in court, and in 1882, the Supreme Court ruled in their favor. But by then, Arlington had become a national cemetery, and moving thousands of graves was impossible. Instead, the government paid the family $150,000, about $4 million today. Lee never set foot on the land again. His home had become a monument to loss, not just for him, but for an entire nation. The next fact will leave you speechless, so don't go anywhere. Number 5. Lincoln once supported sending freed slaves out of the country. Abraham Lincoln is remembered as the great emancipator, the man who ended slavery in America. But early in his presidency, he had a very different plan for freed slaves. Instead of full citizenship, Lincoln considered something called colonization, a controversial idea of relocating freed Black Americans to Africa, the Caribbean, or Central America. In 1862, he even invited a group of Black leaders to the White House, the first time a sitting president had ever done so. But his words shocked them. Your race suffers here. Why not find a land where you can prosper? For Lincoln, this wasn't about hatred. He genuinely believed America might never accept Black citizens as equals. But many, including Frederick Douglass, fiercely opposed the idea. They argued that Black Americans had built this country with their blood and labor. Leaving? That was never an option. Over time, Lincoln's views evolved. By the end of the war, he had abandoned colonization and instead advocated for Black citizenship and voting rights. But for a brief moment, America's future could have looked very different. Number 4. Black Union soldiers were paid less than white soldiers. The Civil War was fought for freedom, but not for equality. Even in the Union Army, Black soldiers faced discrimination, especially when it came to their paychecks. A white Union soldier earned $13 a month. A Black soldier, only $10. And to make things worse, $3 was deducted from their pay for uniforms, leaving them with just $7. Despite this injustice, Black regiments fought with incredible bravery. Take the 54th Massachusetts Infantry, one of the most famous Black units. They led a daring assault on Fort Wagner in 1863. Many of them died, proving their courage in battle, but their pay still unequal. It wasn't until June 1864, after months of protests, that Congress finally granted Black soldiers equal pay. But even after the war, the wage gap didn't disappear. Many Black veterans moved west, becoming cowboys, soldiers, and settlers, only to find themselves once again earning far less than their white counterparts. Stay tuned because the next fact will shock you. Number 3. Harriet Tubman led a military raid. Harriet Tubman wasn't just a conductor on the Underground Railroad, she was also a military leader. In 1863, Tubman helped plan and execute the Combahee River Raid in South Carolina. She worked directly with Union troops, guiding gunboats through enemy territory to attack Confederate plantations. But this raid wasn't just about war, it was about freedom. Tubman's forces freed over 720 enslaved people in a single night, making it one of the largest liberation missions of the war. She became the first woman in U.S. history to lead a military operation, and she wasn't just a strategist. She was on the ground, directing troops. Even after the war, Tubman continued fighting for equality, becoming a powerful activist for women's rights and civil rights. Number 2. The Civil War introduced modern warfare. Many assume that modern warfare began in World War I, but its roots, they stretch back to the American Civil War. This brutal conflict introduced 3 groundbreaking innovations that reshaped battlefields forever. First, ironclad warships revolutionized naval warfare. The clash between the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia in 1862 proved that wooden ships were obsolete. It paved the way for the steel warships of the future. Second, trench warfare emerged. Soldiers dug defensive positions to survive deadly artillery and rifle fire. Though it became infamous in World War I, the Civil War saw early examples of extensive trench systems, particularly in battles like Petersburg. Finally, rapid-fire weapons changed combat forever. The Gatling gun, capable of firing multiple rounds in seconds, foreshadowed the machine guns that dominated 20th century conflicts. These innovations marked the dawn of modern warfare, proving that technology, not just manpower, would determine the future of battle. Now this is where it gets better. Number 1, the Civil War never really ended. While the Civil War officially ended in 1865, its impact never truly faded. The war forged a generation of hardened soldiers. Many of them carried their battlefield skills into the untamed frontier. Some became lawmen, using their combat experience to enforce order in violent boomtowns. Others, they turned to outlaw life, robbing banks and trains with the same guerrilla tactics they once used against enemy troops. Many joined the Indian Wars, bringing the brutal strategies of the Civil War to conflicts against Native American tribes. This is how the war shaped the Wild West. Gunfighters like Wild Bill Hickok, a former Union scout, and Jesse James, a Confederate guerrilla-turned-outlaw, became legends of the frontier. Even the Pinkerton detectives, famous for hunting down criminals, spent years tracking ex-Confederate raiders. In many ways, the Civil War never truly ended. It simply moved west. But the legacy of the Civil War didn't just shape the Wild West, it shaped America itself. Even today, its ghosts still haunt us, from racial tensions to debates over Confederate monuments. The Civil War may be over, but its battlefields are still with us. The Civil War was far more than a simple battle between the Union and Confederacy. Beneath the well-known history, countless hidden stories reveal the unexpected, the strange, and the shocking truths behind America's bloodiest conflict. From secret spy networks to battle-hardened veterans shaping the Wild West, the war's impact stretched far beyond 1865. But now I have a question for you. Which of these hidden stories surprised you the most? And how do you think the Civil War continues to shape our world today? Let me know in the comments. And if you love uncovering the untold side of history, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating stories from the past, because there's always more history waiting to be uncovered.